So it's exciting, isn't it? Because we've seen Snapchat make a big splash at the beginning of the week, Twitter with their new Lightning product later in the week, and the thing they have in common is this idea of vertical video and very short form video, or portrait video rather than landscape video. And so I've spoken to a number of clients and they've said, wow, this is kind of interesting because we haven't thought about the creative process in that way. And it sounds simple and it sounds so obvious given the nature of the devices people are making it for, but it's not quite so obvious. And what was fun is I had a meeting with JCDecaux, the biggest out-of-home company in the world yesterday, and I was looking at some of their digital installations they have now, and guess what? They're in the portrait video format. And not only are they portrait, but the other thing about the new form of video is that people are having to think portrait and they're having to think silent and subtitles, because it turns out in out of home and in many mobile use cases, people aren't going to consume video with sound. So hopefully we're back to silent movies and that'll be exciting. Maybe we'll go back to black and white as well. Well, it's really clear that the Facebook team has the wind in their sails. It's an appropriate metaphor for where we are. They're doing really well with the Facebook main feed. They're doing real well with Instagram, of course. They haven't talked about Messenger here so much, and certainly not about WhatsApp. So that's clearly strong. I think that Twitter, despite the fact that Dick Costolo stood down as CEO, I think Dick has taken them now with their ad products in partnership with Adam Bain to, I think, is going to be a really good place. And I'm excited about what they're doing around their Lightning product, which is the curation aspect of live events. And I think when you've got a live events curation product in Snapchat and another live events curation product in Twitter, I think those things are going to come together, and it's actually great from an advertiser's point of view because it's fun when you've got more than one platform to execute similar ideas on, rather than having to wake up every day and every minute and say, I got to build something new for everything. Having said that, I think we're definitely moving into an era of platform-specific creative. So even though Twitter Lightning and Snapchat Stories and Snapchat Live may look the same, I think the narrative that you're creating in your creative assets may not be the same. So I think what we'll see is people will dissect every one of these platforms and they'll say, how do I do my messaging? Not just ads, but services that I might create and interactions I might create. And I've got to make those for each of the platforms and the use dates of those platforms. So I think that's a significant trend. Yeah. Well, we've been training people, haven't we? And we train people first in television, and then we train them in full episode players from the TV companies and Hulu. I think they really like the ad load in the full episode players, and then in the full screen video world of those kind of suppliers, because obviously it's much less than it is in the television environment. I think there's an ad load challenge maybe in YouTube, and I think it's an interesting exchange rate, if you like, between seconds of video consumed and the content that surrounds it. Maybe the most interesting ad load challenge is what goes on in feed-based environments and how that's going to play out. And whilst Facebook are super confident about how it's going to work, and Twitter are pretty confident about autoplay video as well, I must say that it's not that I'm not convinced or I'm not hopeful or I think it's going to fail. I think there's still some unanswered questions about that. The rate of exchange between content and video in the Snapchat and Twitter environment actually is terrific. And I think it's good for the consumer because it's short, 10 seconds in the Snapchat case. And it's actually good for the advertiser as well. Because when you think about Snapchat Discover, the amount of content on any given day produced by any given content partner is relatively small. And so the advertiser gets quite a high share of voice and standout. And I said the other day that Snapchat may be ephemeral, but it's impactful. And I think that's pretty valuable. So we need to understand that the viewability debate has been mainly prosecuted in the United States so far. And it's been prosecuted in the United States because in that country, there is a more common gathering together of the advertiser community, the agency community, and the sell-side community. And we share common cause with the MRC and the 3MS program and so forth. And so we've had the forum to have that discussion. So what people know about GroupM's approach is that we said no to 50% viewability, and then we said no again to 70% viewability. And when 50% viewability was announced, we said, we think 100% viewability is our goal, and that's what we want to trade on. We did our first couple of deals. Condé Nast is the one that people talk about because Lisa Valentino and our team did that deal. And then the rest of the market has come down that path towards us, and many of our vendor partners have been great. Many of them have resolved the problem by making adjustments to site design and so forth. Many of them have now understood that we take a different view of richer media experiences, so we're not being totally dogmatic about it. Now, having said that, have we made the same progress in Europe or Latin America or Asia? The answer is not yet. We're working on it. We're working on it with a number of media partners here and in Mexico and other markets, and we're saying, support us on the drive to 100% viewability and we'll support you. So the vendors should know that the people that want to offer us 100% viewability to our clients are going to do more business with us. And that's a good thing for them and a good thing for us. We're really delighted about the very public collaboration we've had on this from Unilever and from Rob Master in particular and Gail Tifford, and they've really pushed it. And Keith Weed spoke here, the CMO of Unilever spoke here this week on this subject. And so we think we're making good progress. We're delighted with the Trusted Advertising Group, the TAG Initiative, and Mike Zanese and the team in the US for what they're doing about fraud and bots and so forth. And we're also delighted with our partners like Moat, who are helping us do the verification part of viewability. And we had another breakthrough just a week ago when Twitter announced their autoplay video standards with third-party verified viewability. And we still have a little bit of a hairball with some parts of the vendor community and some very, very big parts of the vendor community who persist in wanting to mark their own homework in terms of viewability and saying, well, our data tells us X, and being less than collaborative in terms of third-party verification. They think it's an existential issue about code within their apps. We think there may be some workarounds, and we made that clear this week, and we're hoping that the narrative changes from you can't do that to, well, this is what we could do if we thought about doing like this, and hopefully we'll make more progress. But the integrity of the market in terms of the inventory and the advertiser knowing they're getting what they paid for, which is ads seen in full by real people, seems to me a real underpinning issue of the future of the market.